Yeah, he's just kind of like adding on to it a little bit. Just give me a little bit of an explanation to it all. Okay, Vichebaratos. Let's start again very quickly. Let's review. So we said, Isaiah the prophet says you should. Isaiah the prophet says you should honor Shabbat. That is the mitzvah. You should not do your personal deeds. And your speech should be different. Okay, so we looked at the Gemara, and the Gemara says, what does that mean to honor Shabbat? What is kavod Shabbat? Actually, the word kavod is a good word. It is related to the word kaved. What does the word kaved mean? Heavy, right? It's got gravitas to it. So what does that mean? So it says, first of all, how do you honor it? He says your clothing on Shabbat should not be the clothing during the week. You should have special clothing exclusively for Shabbat. 2, you should not engage in your own affairs, your own needs should be pushed aside. Okay? You should walk differently on Shabbat. When you walk, you should be calm and relaxed and tranquil. Really, you should not be jogging on Shabbat. That's the honest truth. You can go for a nice long walk. You should not be jogging. And you should not talk and discuss things that normally aren't spoken about. Okay? Your speech, as I mentioned, your speech should not involve business, masav matan. You shouldn't discuss things really at all which are weekday things. Your speech on Shabbat could be elevated and lifted and different and should be a higher level of speech as well. So what you wear, how you walk, how you talk is all meant to be different on Shabbat. Okay? You should definitely not speak forbidden things on Shabbat. That's things of cursing, for example, or talking lashon hara. A positive speech is 1,000 times the amount of mitzvah you get positive speech, and the negative speech is 1,000 times worse. So you have to be very, very, very careful. Okay? So Rav Isaac Sher at the bottom, you can read through that. He just says the idea of how you walk and how you talk. He just goes on to a little bit more. Tobesh 135. Everything about you, all your actions, the Shabbat should be nice and refined, na'eh and mushubachat, and should be honorable. Everything you do, just you're living a higher level of life, right? You shouldn't be cursing or doing anything bad at all. It's just nice. Elevated, nale yoter, ruchni, more spiritual, right? Chefse shemayim. You should think about, does God want me to do this or not? Hakol mechubad, halevush, clothing. Halichoch, walking. Ha'isuk, vadibor, what you do, what you say, everything is going to be different. Okay? So the question is, are you even allowed to fast on Shabbat? And the answer is no. There's only one fast you can't take on Shabbat. I've never met someone who does this fast on Shabbat, and that is, but technically it does work. Tanit chalom. If a person has a bad dream, they are permitted to fast on Shabbat, to annul and to ameliorate. That's a good word I don't hear too often. To ameliorate their chalom ra'ah. People don't take something upon themselves. You speak to someone who says you could do it. Having said that, even if you do that, you then have to do teshuvah for not eating and enjoying Shabbat. So you have to fast again during the week in order to make up for fasting on Shabbat and not enjoying Shabbat. That is the fascinating halacha, yeah.
Wait, so these are...
What's that?
You don't have to.
You don't have to. No, absolutely not.
So
Absolutely.
they have a
Nowadays, no one does it nowadays.
If
I've
they
never,
have-
maybe certain rabbis who will, advise you to take off the gezerah of a dream by fasting. But nowadays we don't really do it. Even that's not really done. I mean, maybe some circles, but I've never met someone who does, yeah?
So, if they have a bad dream, they have to stop the gezerah of a dream
That is an idea. But
by fasting, and then
I'm
and
saying
then they
technically,
have to fast again during that week.
if they fast on Shabbat in order to nullify that decree in the dream.
Okay.
Because you've taken away from the honor of Shabbat. So that itself needs its own teshuvah. Even though you're allowed to fast on Shabbat, you can't. That's why all fast days are pushed away. Right? Except Yom Kippur. That is the only other fast that falls on Shabbat that we keep. And the reasons for that, we've already mentioned, are because Yom Kippur is called Shabbat Shabbaton, Sabbath of Sabbaths. Shabbat Shabbaton. And also because Yom Kippur is actually a happy day. You're wiping away all your sins. So you're fasting for a happy reason. And therefore you are permitted to, that's why you're not permitted, you're expected and obligated to fast on Yom Kippur that falls on Shabbat. So Shabbat, that's where the word Shabbat says shuv, to return. Yom Kippur is teshuvah. It's the same thing. Okay? Yes, Mr. SS.
Okay, so how do you know that it's a bad dream?
How do you know if it was a bad dream?
Nowadays, it's like
Everything's a
no
bad dream.
prophecy.
Your whole life's one big bad dream, right, for most people? Okay, how do you know? If you have tremendous agmat nefesh,
Anxiety.
thank you. It makes you very, very anxious and upset. Even then, you go to speak to someone who can say to you, actually, it seems like a bad dream, but it's not. I remember many years ago, I had a dream and I was very, very upset about it. And I went to a certain great, great rabbi, who's an expert in this field, and he said, don't worry about it. I dreamt that I killed somebody, put him in a body bag, and dragged him through a synagogue. Good dream, bad dream?
That's a funny one.
What?
It's funny.
It's funny. It's funny. Funny for you. I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I woke up, my heart was palpitating. Like dragging a dead man through a synagogue, that can't be so good, right?
Do you remember who was the person?
Do I remember who it was? You know, it was a number of people I wanted it to be, but I don't know who it was now. Anyway, so and he said, I thought it was really, really bad. I said, should I fast? What do I do? He's like, nah, it's fine. It's just you killing your Yetzer Hara. Don't worry about it. That's what happened in the synagogue. It's good. It's good. It's good. And he said, give some money to tzedakah and don't do it again.
They say that dreams nowadays don't have like prophecy,
They do. They're 60th of prophecy of Nebuah. Absolutely do.
but like
Absolutely
very little, like very.
There are three types of dream. One type of dream is complete nonsense, just stuff your mind is going through during the day. If you saw something, heard something, it just reappears itself. The other type is absolute nevuah, like Yaakov had a dream, he had a chalom. He fell asleep and dreamt of the ladder to Shemayim as a form of prophecy, which we don't have nowadays. But there's a middle, which is like a little bit of both. It's got some nevuah inside it and some nonsense inside it, and it's mixed together.
Like if you dream with somebody with a dead person,
Yeah,
that's like sort of like war.
could be. Maybe yes, maybe no. Depends who's dreaming.
Like
Ashkenazi women, not always. Sephardi women, always nevuah. Always. Every Sephardi woman has dreams. Every single one. No exception. There is no exception. Am I right?
Yeah.
There's no exception to the rule. Oh, I had a dream. I thought. Okay. Okay, that's not our topic for today, however. Okay, so therefore, right. So he said, listen, this is amazing. This is what the Midrash says. Midrash says, don't fast on Shabbat, right? And the main reason is to attain forgiveness. However, the honor of Shabbat, look at his words of the Midrash Tanchuma, is worth 1,000 fast days. 1,000 fast days, just honoring Shabbat. So all of that, imagine fasting 1,000 times. I can't even think about it, right? He says that is nothing compared to one honor that you give towards Shabbat. Okay, which is why we're able to push away fast days from Shabbat, because Shabbat gets the job done. You don't even need the fast day. It's doche, right? We are nidche. We push it away. We are doche the fast day because Shabbat takes care of it, which is a very, very, very beautiful thing. Okay. Right. And look at the bottom, a beautiful analogy as to why this should be. Okay, in order to honor Shabbat, we'll speak some more, he says, but basically, the idea is imagine a king who commands his people to treat a certain prince with great honor. When you honor the prince, you're honoring the king, because he's commanded it. That's really what's going on over here. That is really what's going on over here. You're basically showing great, and if you don't honor the prince, you're not honoring him. Remember, we said that Shabbat is really like the prince of God, as we mentioned already. That is the power we had. Mentioned that already. Turn over the page. Okay, he carries on the analogy, but you got that? We did that. Okay, 1 second. Okay, turn to page 138. It's just repeating the same idea. So why are we actually honoring Shabbat? So one idea we saw, many ideas, but one idea we saw already is because HaKadosh Baruch himself is Shabbat. We said Shabbat is one of the names of God. That by honoring Shabbat, you're actually honoring God. But there are other reasons as well. There's another reason as well. One is because you're given, another reason is you're given in a Neshama Yisera. We discussed that chapter already. You're given the extra soul on Shabbat. Okay? It is put inside you, and it comes with a special crown of the angels, the Midrash of the Gemara says, and therefore we are not honoring Shabbat per se, we're honoring the extra soul that we are given. We are not the same. We are not the same people in Shabbat. There's a weekday you, there's a Shabbat you. Therefore, how do you signify the Shabbat you dress differently, and you will eat differently, and you're going to sing differently, and you're going to talk differently. All these things are there basically to give honor to the neshama yisera, the extra soul that is given to you on Shabbat.
Who said
That is the Midrash, but that's based on a Gemara we looked at already. The Gemara in Shabbat. Yeah? And Peiches, the extra soul, extra crowns were given to the Jewish people on Shabbat. Okay, that was extra soul.
So we're honoring the extra soul?
That's really what you're doing, yeah. Because you're not the same. You're not the same. You're a different person. That's really it. But you look at Hasidic thought, they're very, very big into this idea that on Shabbat, there are two different types of people. There's the Shabbat people and the weekday people. You are different. The essence of who you are has changed dramatically. Okay? A lot of this is just repetition we did earlier in the semester. Okay, jump to the bottom of page 139.
So there's three reasons why we honor Hashem and Shabbat. The Neshama Yisera, and the third is what?
So in the Neshama Yisera, we said, well, we looked at the prophet.
Okay.
The prophet says you have to give honor to it as well. Okay? So how do we do it? So we're commanded, it's a mitzvah. And it's tavim la'anega Shabbat, to give honor to Shabbat. B'machlem, arevim, beautiful foods. V'aganim, with beautiful clothes. B'mita, b'tzad, a beautiful bed. They talk a lot about beds on Shabbat, and I don't understand why. It used to be that basically you lived in a house, you lived in a small little tiny place, right? And there was like a bed there, so your bed had to be made up, but we still do it, right? You should make your bed in honor of Shabbat, even though you don't see it while you're eating or anything. Okay, even so, you should be doing that. Okay, and you should have the best foods and the best wines we spoke about, right? Key. Miteva adam hu l'fa'er et simchato b'ma'achal mishneh. What makes you happy? Good food, good clothing, and good drink. And by doing these things, you are spiritually honoring Shabbat. Okay? Turn to page 140. Okay, so just a bit more on the clothes of Shabbat. So Ruth, the convert, we learn a lot of laws of conversion from, says in the book of Ruth, chapter 3, verse 3, V'rachatzta v'sachata v'samta samlatecha alecha. Bathe, anoint yourself, put on your finest clothes. So what are these clothes that she was wearing, or she was telling others to wear? Obviously she was wearing clothing. So the Gemara actually learns out that Ruth was very careful to give extreme honor to the Sabbath, to Shabbat. Okay? The Gemara says, when you should put on your clothes, would she really? Says no. She used to bathe herself, she would anoint herself, and she would put on the finest clothes in honor of Shabbat. Interesting, we learned this out from her, right? I know people who dress, nowadays we dress very well during the week as well. You should therefore have some item of clothing that is unique for Shabbat. Okay, you should have some item. Sometimes you wear like a wedding outfit for Shabbat as well. That may not be such a terrible thing, but you should have some item that is exclusively for Shabbat. Whether it's a special, I don't know, shirt or something, or definitely jewelry, but something you should wear to really separate this that you just don't wear during the week. Okay, they should really be elevated in that way. Okay, and like we said already, the clothing you should wear should really be in honor, like just like you'd wear in front of a king or a queen or a very high official. So too, you should do that. Nowadays, this is a very easy mitzvah for us to do because clothing is not as expensive as it used to be. I mean, even nice clothing, you can do that. Okay. By the way, so when should you stop with the clothes? You should actually, I'm actually guilty for not doing this. As soon as you come home for Shabbat, you should even till Havdalah. You should still be wearing your Shabbat clothes till after Havdalah. That's what the Magen Avraham says. Page 142. Even if you're not going to see anyone, by the way, all of Shabbat. Let's say you know you're stuck somewhere and no one's going to see you. If for some reason you're by yourself all of Shabbat, you're stuck somewhere. Even so, you should put on nice clothing It's not just for other people to see you. That's what Chazal say. Just the action of putting on nice clothes in honor of Shabbat, not in honor of people seeing you and realizing that it is Shabbat through your clothing. Okay? So you should wear nice clothes that love Shabbat. And if you do Malav Malka, you should even try to wear those clothings for Malav Malka as well, for Motzei Shabbat. Yeah? All of this is increasing the honor of Shabbat. Page 143, let's talk about the walking aspect. When you walk, you should walk Pesios Ketanot. Lo lefsoach Pesia Gasa. Not big steps. You should be running and running around literally the way you walk. And there's very interesting descriptions in many of the history books that I've read that talk about certain communities where the Jews used to work on the docks, right? Like for example in Greece. In Greece, they used to work on the docks, and during the week they were covered in dirt and schmutzy. On Shabbat, the docks were closed because it was just the Jews working there, and they used to literally walk around in white. That used to be the custom among many Jews. They would wear all white on Shabbat. If you go to the Kotel today, you see some people still walk around in all white, with a white jacket, pants, skirts, shoes, with pachat, head coverings. It was such an idea, and they would talk about it, they would say, wow, these same people during the week were covered in grease and dirt, On Shabbat, they'd walk around the town next to it and clean, walking calmly and relaxed. It's a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. Yeah.
All of these things are like physical ways to uplift Shabbat, but are you going to discuss more of the spiritual, not just eat, walk slow, but like...
I thought we did.
We did
this
a lot,
semester.
but
We
like,
did a lot. I mean, it's fine. You're asking a question. Why is it all about physical?
Like it's just focusing on it a lot and repeating it a lot.
It is. And really, thinking about it now, that's the very Jewish way, isn't it? In other words, we tap into the spiritual through the physical. They're not two separate entities, So obviously we learn and we pray, but even physical, we uplift to become spiritual. So we're not putting that aside. We're saying it's one of the same thing. The way you dress will affect how you are in your thoughts and your speech, what you eat, how you act, all this is going to be the same thing. So I'm not saying that spiritual is not important, and you'll be praying and all the rest of it, and learning Torah, we said is a great mitzvah on Shabbat, worth a lot more than the weekday Torah, but it's all the same thing, right? You access the spiritual through the physical. Okay? That's how you do it. So even walking, if you're calmly walking and you're relaxed and you're tranquil, actually the Ramah even gives a distance. You shouldn't step more than 1 amma in one step. Literally the space between your feet. It's very, very difficult because I walk fast everywhere, but he's saying even should be more than 1 amma, which is what, like 1.5 feet, 2 feet maximum, yeah? If possible, you should literally walk slowly, right, in small steps. Okay, unless, of course, we said you are rushing for a mitzvah. So the Shulchan Aruch says if you're running for a mitzvah, like you're late for synagogue or the like, then you can, or late for a Torah class, then you can move faster. Otherwise, walking slower.
How much is 1 amma?
A difference of opinion. Where it actually comes from the word arm, or the word arm comes from the word amma, from here to here. So different opinions, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet. Yeah? That's all honoring Shabbat. So by going for a jog on Shabbat, you're not actually being machalo Shabbat, you're not breaking Shabbat, there's no malacha you're doing, but you're missing out on this mitzvah of honoring Shabbat. But a brisk walk is, that's what he says. He brings that a measurement, that's the Ramah says. He brings such a measurement. No more than 1 amma between footsteps.
So how do you walk? Can you show me on Shabbat how you walk?
You want to see how I walk?
Yeah.
Was
Like
it
I-
before or after the cholent? Because before the cholent, I'm all fasting. After the
I'm
cholent, I'm like,
not really. It's just the weirdest thing to be told how to walk, but I'd like to see. So I just don't get.
I know, just don't take big steps. Don't take big steps, I'm basically saying. I mean, I guess it depends on, the height of a person. Will depend how big their step
No,
is.
it's not a problem for me.
Like you're always walking less than amma. You're like,
Yeah.
okay. In page 144, do not, we mentioned this already, do not get angry on Shabbat and do not fight. Whatever you do not argue. Says the Sefer Hasidim, this is based on a verse in Mishlei. Better a meal of greens where there is love than a fattened ox where there is hatred. That's from Mishlei, from Proverbs. He's basically saying, this is actually talking about Shabbat. Better on Shabbat to eat foods, right, which are lower, right, and have love and have shalom bayit between yourself and your wife and your husband, the rest of your family, than having a really great meal and acting disgusting towards each other, right? And it's tough because sometimes Friday night is the only time you get together as families, all the arguments come up, right? So try to get it out of the way during the week, okay? There are many such, better a dry piece of bread with peace in it than a house full of contentious celebrations. Okay, this is true for Shabbat and Yom Tov, but more so on Shabbat. Okay, how do you honor Shabbat? So he's saying, how do you honor Shabbat? By not fighting and arguing on it. You shouldn't fight or argue on it. And we already saw this piece about the fire in your house. We did that already. That's, you cannot make a fire in your house. And that's saying the fire means fire of anger and hatred towards each other. Okay, we did that already. But it's part, I mention it again because it's part of honoring Shabbat. It's part of it honoring Shabbat. By the way, according to Kabbalah, Shabbat doesn't just exist in this world, it exists in Gan Eden and in Gehenna. We are told that the fires of Gehenna, whatever that means, it's a metaphor, but the judgment of Gehenna is suspended on Shabbat. All the souls in Gehenna, and the Shalah brings us down, are given a rest on Shabbat, which is why, by the way, they say, try to keep Shabbat going as long as possible, so that all those souls aren't put back into that. You're right, it is actually, yeah. It is pretty scary. But they're given a certain alleviation in terms of the, okay? So therefore, you do not want to, that's what he says, right? Yom Shabbat Liot Kulo B'chein V'chesed V'shalva V'shalom B'ava Rabba Kibo Shovsim Afilu Rishon again. Even the evil people in Gehenna are given a reprieve of their year judgment during this time. Okay? And by the way, it's not just Shabbat. This is from Erev Shabbat all the way through to Motzei Shabbat, even half Shabbat. Okay, so basically all this time there should be absolute peace and love, because even Hashem gives that to his subjects too. Try to be happy. You should literally be happy all of Shabbat. It's a special mitzvah to do that. Okay. That's the Shla. Bottom page 144, top page 145. The Shnei Lukas Habris, Rav Hurwitz was his name, I believe. That's what he says. See that? Top page 145. On Shabbat, one must speak total grace, kindness, peace, and much love on this day. Even the people in Gehenna are at rest. Wow. So he says. I don't know if I've been there before, and I have no plan of going back. So we'll just take that as a theoretical formula, shall
Right,
we?
I have a question. Like they always say that Gan Eden has like a physical, how do you say this? Physical way of depicting it, maybe.
Gan
No.
Eden for us, Gan Eden refers to where the souls go to Olam and Neshamot. When the soul leaves the body, it goes to Gan Eden, and it is part of Olam Haba. Olam Haba is in the future. That's going to be physical. But Gan Eden right now, Gan Eden was a physical place in the time of Adam and Rishon, but now it's just a spiritual location. And then in Olam Haba, in the future world, then it becomes a physical place again. The world becomes like Gan Eden when Mashiach comes. Okay? That's what Gan Eden is. Okay. Okay, very, very good. We did that already. Sorry, just reviewing a lot of stuff I did before. Just wanted to, I don't repeat it. Okay, so page 146. There should really be achdut. That's what we're saying over there. There should be oneness. There should be unity on Shabbat. Okay? Ish echad belev echad, which were the words said in describing the Jewish people at Har Sinai, which happened on Shabbat, if you remember, from the beginning of the semester. Okay? So too, we are unified. We have one mission. You can't argue with someone who's got the same mission. If we both go on the same road to the same place, and you both have the same desires, there's nothing to argue about because we're a team. There's unity. So if there's argument, you're showing there is no unity, and you're not going to the same place. You're not really involved in the same day. So Shabbat itself allows you to be unified. Okay, it should allow you to be unified, and therefore there's no reason to fight. Okay, so therefore all the business we're involved in is the business of connecting to the people around us. Okay, ish echad belev echad. One person with one heart is the expression.
Of Jews, you said?
Yeah, absolutely. It's our day. And he says, Lachen, he's here, look at page 146. Lachen, he's here, that's why specifically, machloket b'Shabbat, arguing and fighting Shabbat, sees a terrible thing. It's just like he gives a student, ledimyon, just like hatalmidim, she'enan domim b'dat, just like different students have different abilities, right, when it comes to learning and studying. Some people are good at grabbing information well, some are not so good, some are better at asking questions, some have better memories. Right? But he says, but on a holiday on the Rosh Chodesh, they stop their learning and everyone's together. It's like a school trip. You say, for example, you go on a school trip. It was a tradition on Rosh Chodesh to do a school trip somewhere. Right? So he's saying, just like on a school trip, suddenly you forget all the differences. You haven't got some smart, we're all together on a trip, so you're on the bus together, you're having a lot of fun. That's the analogy he's giving. So too in Shabbat, the differences between us are not counted. We're all going on a school trip, we're all together, and we're just going to have a good time. Nice analogy that, I like that. Right? You go, you enjoy yourself, and the differences between you are less than outside of the classroom. So he's saying weekday is like classroom, Shabbat is like school trip. I love school trips, by the way, they were the best. Weren't they fantastic? Oh my God.
In London, they probably were.
Why not here?
I don't know.
Didn't have a good time? We have school trips, no? I couldn't wait to get out of school. I still can't wait to get out of school. When I visit my kids' school, I'm like, what a good place.
You always say that you're like, why don't you send them somewhere else?
No, they're happy. They're doing very well. It's my own issues. Okay? All of this on page 147, you'll get tremendous by honoring Shabbat. Hashem will honor you by his midah keneged midah, and so too God will give you strength, and you get tremendous blessing. All right, of shalom and peace. All right, just by being unified with one heart like one person. That's page 147. Just by being unified, by being together, so too you are given tremendous schar reward, and Hashem will strengthen you and bless you during the week. You'll receive blessings in all your other activities. Okay? And you must learn Torah or read Tehillim or be involved in spiritual activities. Okay? My wife goes to a Tehillim group on Shabbat. Right? It's hard when you have young children, but if you're able to, some people I've seen people, especially women, who try to go through all of Sefer Tehillim every single Shabbat. Oh, Chabad are very big into this. Chabad begin Shabbat services late, just so that you can read all of Tehillim, which takes you about a couple of hours. That's really one of the reasons they start late, not just let everyone sleep in, which is also something. Sleeping in is something on Shabbat. That's okay and understandable. But you should do something. Reading Tehillim, by the way, is a tremendous thing to do on Shabbat, or learning Mishnah. And the Torah, by the way, the Torah you learn on Shabbat should be Torah you enjoy. During the week, you have to learn stuff. It's tough. You have to break your head on it. But on Shabbat, you should try to learn Torah. Unless you enjoy all Torah, you should try to go to classes and enjoy Torah that inspires you, makes you feel good. Okay, that is the special mitzvah of Torah and Shabbat. Just one last piece and we'll finish. Page 148. This is the end. There's a final Shabbat of the year. When does that appear? Final Shabbat of the year?
The one
Before Rosh Hashanah. Right? They say that the final Shabbat of the year encapsulates all the previous Shabbats. Alright? Everything goes after the end. So there's a special mitzvah just on that Shabbat, more than all other Shabbats, right? To give extra honor for that final Shabbat of the year. Okay? right? So it's like he gives an Rav Lopin gives a beautiful example. He says, let's say you go to visit someone and you be there and you get great food when you're there, and then the longer you stay, the less the food gets. But when you leave, you get Seder L'derech. You get like a little package of extra nice food in order to, when you leave. So to Shabbat is the final, it's just like that final package that you're being given, or you're giving, if you will, in order of Shabbat.
I don't get that analogy. You visit and you.
If you visit someone, he says, you arrive, you get nice food, but the longer you stay, the less of the food gets. Right? If you're there for a few days.
So what's the?
So he's saying, but before you leave, right, so I've got to go, they'll make you a special package of nice food at Seder L'derech as food to go. So he's saying that's like the final, here's the final. So the final Shabbat, you're showing great honor to Shabbat by being extra careful on that Shabbat. And everything we discussed and more. Extra effort goes into that as well.
The extra gift.
Yeah, that's what they like. The parting gift. So extra kavod for that Shabbat with extra good food and extra good clothing and other things as well. Okay. That's pretty much all the information for this semester. I hope you got a lot out of it. We will, God willing, meet again on a Monday for a short class just to review everything you need for your finals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.